I'd like to introduce our Treasurer, Sharleen, who's going to do a presentation now on the dog hierarchy of needs. Sharleen is a lecturer with the C.Y. O'Connor TAFE Institute in Western Australia, and she travels the world, in particular Malaysia at the moment, giving out great information and training to animal management officers and upskilling them with behavioural issues. Thanks, Sharleen.
Good afternoon. Don't they call this the death session? No? Okay. Anyway, I'll try my best to keep you all awake. Thanks, Pete. I guess really what I want to bring home with this talk is how to keep yourself current with information. And there's so many fantastic speakers out there with so many wonderful things to tell you that you really need to keep up to date and get out and about and see what's going on and see some good speakers. And in the last, say, 12, 18 months, I've seen, a heap of good stuff. That's why I get to travel around and get all this information. And that's how you keep your currency up, because in the world of animal behaviour, the information is increasing pretty much exponentially. So if you went and saw some philosophies and it was 5 years ago that you last went to a speech on animal behaviour with somebody, then you'd probably think that your information is probably getting a little bit behind. And as people that are generally custodians of the community and responsible for the welfare and well-being and management of people's animals, it's probably in your best interest to make sure that your skills and knowledge are as current as they possibly can be. So in the last, like I said, 12 months, I've had the good pleasure to see a few people. Some of you may have heard of Dr. Jackie Lai. She's an Australian lady. She runs webinars through universities and stuff. She's from, the veterinary school, but she's got lots of brilliant things to say. I went to one of her sessions that was more a fill-in session than anything for one of the AVA conferences, and she did a great session on play and all these things that I hadn't even thought about on play in animals, and in the fact that animals actually need play to thrive. And the elephant at one of the zoos, the baby elephant, was dying, and when they did a bit of an assessment on him, they realised that he needed play. The minute they introduced play for him, he thrived. So she's just brilliant. Dr. Gary Landsberg, has anyone heard of him? No, he's absolutely fantastic. He comes from Canada, the president-elect of the American College of Veterinary Behaviourists, and if you have got your tax return, then you can invest in this book, which is what I did, saved up for it. But it's a really good book. It is the most current philosophies on animal behaviour. And what's that other? Sophia Yin, she's brilliant as well. But the best one that I came across was about May last year, a lady by the name of Tura Druggers from Holland, the Netherlands. And she's absolutely brilliant. The stuff that she sat down and spoke about, she mapped physiology and physiological processes to animal behaviour, and I thought, wow, that was pretty cool. So after seeing all these three people's talks, you take all the bits that you find relevant and repackage them for yourself. So I just thought I'd give you a bit of a snapshot of what I've seen from these people and gathered from them and how I've repackaged it. So that's, I guess, why I've only got 15 minutes. Only a little bit to say. But Tura, for those of you that deal with dog bark complaints, because we know that doesn't happen very often, does it? Nobody ever rings up and complains about the barking dog next door. So she's got this wonderful book. I think back here you can see the different books that she's written, but the barking one is particularly good. And it's only a thin one, so you can read it in an afternoon. But in that book, she actually identifies 6 types of barking, what they actually sound like, so that you can, short yips, etc. I won't go into too much detail. The reasons for the barking, and then if you need to, what are suggested methods of dealing with those and other bits and pieces that she talks about in those books. So if you're dealing with dog bark issues, I recommend have a bit of a read of that to help you identify and solve the issues in the community. So what she has, the 6 types that she identified, there's your excitement barking, which is when the owner comes home, that sort of thing. Warning barking, fear barking, guard barking, frustration barking, and learnt barking. And as I said, she tells you what they sound like, why they occur, and how, if they are an issue, what suggestions you can put in place to deal with them. So from her talk, like I said, she mapped physiological processes to behaviour, which I found very interesting. And most of you will probably be familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs for people. So you need to have basic needs met in order for you to thrive and become a quality person. So from a dog's perspective, from these speakers and particularly from Tura, she identified the 5 bare necessities that if these needs are not met, then the dog will almost always be stressed. So let's have a quick look at them. Need number one, quite obvious, food. We all need food to survive. But for dogs, they need to feel full. They need to have this satiation sensation of the stomach actually stretched. And you know they're carnivores, so look at what the lion does. He goes out, pulls something down, has a big feed, goes and sleeps it off. A big meal for a dog is required every day to reduce stress. Dogs are carnivores, like I said, the lion. There's differing opinions on what is proper food for a dog, depending on what school of thought you would conform to. There's the BARF diet, there's varying diets, but at least half meat, because they're meat eaters. Water, obviously, should be clean and fresh, free and constant access available at all times for them. Sleep. Now, this is subjective, depending on who you speak to, but generally, you'll find that dogs need 14 to 18 hours of sleep a day. Puppies, just like our babies, need a lot more. Dogs are social sleepers, and they need company to be able to have good quality restful sleep. They're also polyphasic sleepers, which means they sleep in blocks, short blocks. Unlike us, we like one really good big sleep, don't we? And they have several phases of their sleep, just like we do, including the REM phase, because I'm sure you've all seen your dog asleep chasing rabbits and all sorts of things, so they dream just like we do. To sleep properly, however, they also need to be stretched out, lots of space, nice and warm, comfortable, and like I said, company as well. So once upon a time, we used to think it was okay to have this little basket for dogs to curl up in. Not really a good thing. These days, these big cushions that you see, the big like bean bags or whatever type of configuration, they're absolutely perfect for dogs. They can stretch out, they're comfortable. They really need to sleep in company either of other dogs or of the people inside the house in their bed. My dog sleeps down the side of my bed. Every dog I've owned has chosen to sleep down the side of my bed. They did a study. Dogs were kept from sleeping, and after about 7 days, those dogs actually started dying. So it's really important that for a dog to get a good quality of sleep from a dog's perspective. Going to the toilet, they need to be able to go when they need to. Have you ever counted how many times your dog pees? How many times a day does your dog? No, nobody really looks at those things, do they? So the average dog, adult dog, pees about 7 to 10 times a day. So if your dog is peeing 15, 20 times a day, that's a good indication that there's an issue or possible stress factors. Squatting or lifting leg, we've had all sorts of theories along the years. Next year is my 20th year of teaching dog behaviour to rangers and training rangers in Western Australia, so I think I picked up a little bit of information, but once upon a time didn't we say that, you know, the higher up the tree, the more powerful you are, or the scent blows out further? Really, it's just a cleanliness thing. We just don't want to pee on ourselves. Number 5, social contact. Dogs that are jumping up and pulling on leads, usually with other dogs, the intent behind that is they are hysterically interested in being social. They really are wanting that contact. And so we need to teach them to settle down a little bit better in company for the benefit of the dog as well. Contact with both humans and other dogs is best. So what are the extras? Freedom of movement, choices and mental stimulation, other way around. And I remember, originally we used to put dogs in kennels and give them nothing except food and water and expect them to sit there and not be destructive or noisy all day long. And now I think it's really great when I go to, like the RSPCA, etc., and you see all the environmental enrichment toys to keep the dog mentally stimulated. So environmental enrichment, using all of the 5 senses for the dog. So sight. Dogs are hardwired to follow movement. And often that can be stressful. So the dog that obsessively, it's OCD bringing the ball back, obsessively chasing cars, they pretty much have this hard wiring of chase. I see movement, I need to chase. It's an instinctive behaviour, and some of them are a little bit out of control. Sound. a lot of dogs get annoyed by us people. There are some people that talk more than others, and you'll find dogs, if they're in a room and a lot of people are just yapping, they'll start exhibiting calming signals and those sorts of things, because you find yourself with your own animals, when you're all sitting down quiet and relaxed and nobody's making too much noise, everyone seems to be pretty happy and calm. We talk too much. Smell, really, really important to dogs. They're pre-programmed to use their nose, and we don't do enough nose work with dogs. When you take your dog on a walk, what does he do? He sniffs all the time. So we need to work with that. If we want to have a happy, well-adjusted dog, give him lots of things for his nose to do. There's all sorts of great things that you can Google just about anything these days, but they have a thing called a snuffle garden. Go to the local, jumble sale and buy a bunch of old toys and swap them over from time to time. Other things, like I thought this was quite funny, a sausage tree, bits of sausage tied to a tree. How did I used to feed my dog at breakfast time? Is just get his biscuits in a cup and then throw them all over the backyard. Has to work for it, use his nose for it. So we need constant and new simulations, and vary the walks, vary the toys, keep that nose active, make him happy. Taste, dogs like various shapes and textures. To dogs, mouth feel is as important as flavour, which is why you find a lot of the pet food companies, the biscuits are all different shapes because they're trying to get your dog hooked on their particular type of biscuit. And they do like to have something in their mouth all the time. And sometimes dogs that say, oh, this dog's a biter. Well, no, he just likes to have stuff in his mouth. So give them things to put in their mouth. Keep that mouth busy. Keep the nose busy. Keep the mouth busy. Keep the dog happy. They like to chew stuff. My dog gets oodles of bones. $5, dirty big bag from the butcher. She goes, yeah. And then once they're all manky and you pick them up in the yard when you scoop up the poop once a week, or more often, and replenish them. Touch, the skin, used to feel with. Digging feels good, rolling in the grass, playing in water, running through fields. Vary the sensations that the dog will actually physically feel as well. Choices. I can't say enough about giving dogs choices. This is really, really important. Where's Beth? We were talking about this yesterday. Dogs that are given choices in many situations, or a variety of situations, learn to cope best with their environment. So if a dog finds something scary, a bridge or a rubbish bin or something, don't drag him past it. Take him back to the point where it's not scary, then give him the opportunity to investigate it through his own choice, under his own steam. And a well-adjusted dog will usually, by about the third attempt, decide of his own volition or his own choice to go and investigate whatever it is, and it suddenly becomes not so scary. Keep scary objects at a distance, pretty much what I've just said. They'll need the choice to explore, and a well-adjusted dog usually will. Freedom of movement, the ability to run free and express themselves as a dog, off-lead exercise. In America, chaining is more than an hour is illegal. So they've recognised the fact that dogs need to be able to move around freely. Stress, hierarchy of needs. So all of those hierarchy of needs are not met. The first 5, you will find that will cause stress in the dog. Stress hormones are produced in the adrenal glands. A little bit at a time is great. We all know a little bit of stress at a time is great, but too much all at once is not good. Cortisol production is started by adrenaline, increases as adrenaline increases, and cortisol destroys brain cells. And guess what? Brain cells get destroyed first, the social cells. So we know that aggression comes from stress, and that's a physiological process. So hence, unsocial dogs are almost always stressed. Gastric juices increase in parallel with the adrenaline, causing diarrhoea, eating problems, vomiting. Basically, the dog is sick, irritable, and we all know that we're all in such great moods when we're grumpy and irritable, aren't we? And so is the dog. ADH controls the body's water balance. When adrenaline increases, the ADH balance is upset and more water comes out. They can't sweat like we do to get rid of that excess water, so peeing increases. That's why stressed dogs drink more water, and if your dog is peeing a lot more often, that's an indication also that he could be possibly stressed. New research on the NPY peptide shows that when activated by stress, it actually destroys the immune system as well. As a result, dogs get infections faster, other kinds of illnesses faster, and so it's this whole integrated snowball effect. Blood sugar is stored in the liver and required for brain cell production because you just killed it off with the cortisol. So during episodes of stress, all of the blood sugar actually goes to the muscles, none goes to the brain, which causes decreased concentration, decreased learning, decreased memory. If the dog starts getting stressed, just stop what you're doing because you're not going to go anywhere. There's another thing they call piling as well, that they actually need a couple of days after a stressful event to get back to a normal level, otherwise it'll just keep going up and stacking on top of it till you might actually push that dog over his threshold and he reacts. They can also be chronically stressed by pain and illness, too high demands, too much control given. Decision making can be actually stressful. Some of you in management positions know that decision making is very stressful. Feeling helpless or learnt helplessness, being afraid, never knowing what's coming next, not having any stability or routines and patterns in the lifestyle of their dog. They just love to be fed at 5 o'clock every day. Routines and patterns are perfect for dogs, cats, horses, children, the whole lot. Hungry, thirsty, too little sleep, left alone too much, not given any choices. Post-stress management, like I said, it takes a couple of days for the dog to actually come down from that stressful event. So during those periods, make life more predictable, no training sessions, short walks only, lots of exploring, sleep, nose work, calm activities to reduce that stress level on the dog. So there's lots of fantastic new information being produced constantly. Keep up with it as best you can. When you see good speakers coming through, take the time to go and see them and have fun as you work towards tomorrow. Thank you.